and our political statement, but also a super nice dedicated website for the campaign. So thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Estrella, for joining us now, and also to the team for a fantastic job. So Ivo, the floor is back to you. And sorry for the muting.
Thank you very much, Annalisa. I think that's happening sometimes here from the program. I don't know. I was muted a minute ago without knowing why. So things are still happening without us doing. Thanks a lot for your warm welcome. Let's move directly to our keynote speaker today. We will have, as I already announced, a lot of speakers. And by the way, you might have seen the recording button here. We are recording this conference to make it possible to access and to see even after we did it. So for those who couldn't participate or for those who want to revisit. So we are recording the session, just started with this, just in time to get our keynote speaker recorded as well. So I welcome Estrella Ferrandis, who is a member of the European Parliament and will give us some guiding ideas and thoughts for our discussion today. Estrella, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to host this high-level conference with Eurocities, together with my colleagues from the S&D Group, Agnes Jongerius and Brando Benifei. As Shadow Rapporteur of the Access to Decent and Affordable Housing for All report of the European Parliament, I would like to start emphasizing the main idea that has guided our contribution to the report, which is that housing is a fundamental right and must be treated as such. The recognition of housing rights as a fundamental right comes from the understanding that housing is essential in order to live safely and with dignity, as well as to be able to freely develop one's personality. The violation of this idea calls into question people's physical and mental integrity. The absence of decent housing affects people's health and their environment in both individual and collective ways, while diminishing the right to proper education, professional development, and even involvement in public life. Therefore, it's not strange that the guaranteed right to housing appears to be linked to an inclusive, sustainable, and democratically managed environment, or put another way, the right to the city. We have assumed that health and educational rights are an integral part of our public policy system. However, we treat housing as if it was just another piece of merchandise. We treat the city as a commercial object, only useful as a tourism resource, while privatizing urban spaces and allowing 700,000 people across Europe to sleep on the streets each night. The result is, on one hand, a socially, economically, and psychologically shattered city that has been suffering for years the effects of gentrification and tourism. And on the other hand, societies in which social lives are paralyzed. Someone from a poor background that spent their childhood in an overpopulated house will need 4.5 generations in order to reach an average level of income. Online temporary rental platforms are inflating houses prices, as well as changing the composition of urban neighborhoods while eliminating affordable housing or other types of benefits for locals. Poverty reduction is also needed to keep cities attractive, to avoid social tensions, to offer people opportunities, and to better utilize human capital. Big political changes have never come from the top, but from the bottom. It's at local level where changes must start, but cities cannot do this alone. Cooperation with regional, national, and European government levels is needed. In addition, a horizontal cooperation and coordination is indispensable. Private sector, civil society, and active citizens must be involved. What does it mean to build back better? To build back better means to integrate social progress as an investment priority, together with the green and digital transitions in the Recovery and Resilience Facility. This should include social progress plans in the Recovery and Resilience plans, outlining how the EPRS principles are going to be implemented and where the social investment is going to be targeted, including investment in social housing. To build back better means to reform economic governance framework of the EU in order to protect the rights of citizens and social welfare systems in situations of economic crisis, including by adopting Sustainable Development and Social Progress Pact. This will give social and ecological objectives the same legal enforceability as that of fiscal consolidation and financial stability. To build back better means also to look at the different local and national models and adopt the best practices for all, as we are doing here today. Cities and EU leaders can build a stronger social Europe by working together in a new strategic partnership. We need housing observatories. In Spain, we have some examples of local observatories. This model works very well and could be exported to other countries or even to create proper European housing research institutes. What does it mean to build back better? We have some examples in Spain where the Council of Ministers has approved the law on new economic measures to increase protection for people who live in a situation of vulnerability and are at risk of eviction. Also, the so-called 20,000 plan of the Ministry of Transport, Mobility and Urban Agenda, which aims to configure for the first time a true public stock of rental housing at social or affordable prices in Spain. There are, in fact, so many actions we can carry out. There is no doubt that housing policy is part of the process of social construction at the European level. And for this reason, we have included several proposals in the housing report, such as ensuring the provision of sufficient, adequate and affordable social housing to cover the housing needs of the bottom three quintiles of society, and to reduce by half the overburden of housing costs of these groups by 2030. We have also asked the Commission to implement a standard that at least 30% of all new houses should be affordable houses for the lower income group, and at least another 30% affordable housing for the middle income group. I'm not going to go into all the proposals that we have included in the report. All of them have the same objective: achieving more inclusive cities with the right to housing as a starting point. I only would like to highlight some of these specific measures. For instance, to support a new social housing concept that is accessible to all, not only disadvantaged groups. Firmly support the Housing First programme at the European level. Exclude the social expenditure of tax policies. Improve social indicators of housing in the European semester. Improve information at the local level about access to European housing funds. Support a circular economy in the construction sector and, of course, effective measures in order to stop evictions. In conclusion, according to the OECD, by the year 2100, 85% of the 11 billion inhabitants of the planet will live in cities. Therefore, I believe that we have a big challenge ahead of us, which is to opt for one of the following: either we keep relying with blind faith on the old idea that economic prosperity, synonymous of progress, will slowly be surely benefit all social class and will make our cities places that are fit to live in, or alternatively, cities must put effort into achieving real social development, tied to values of social equality, ecological sustainability, economical efficiency, political participation, pluralism, and cultural integration. We, socialists, definitely bet on the second option because we are convinced that only by building back better, we will build the social Europe we want. Congrats for the organization of this amazing conference, and it's an honor for me to share with all of you this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Estrella. Thank you very much for these words. I think you put the perfect framework for this conference that we are having here. My colleague Patricia has put the link to the report of the Parliament, to the draft report on access to decent and affordable housing in the chat, so you can follow up on this and see more details that you just listed that are all important. One aspect that you just mentioned was something that I noted down. As I said, I'm noting down words and sentences, and that was your bottom-up approach, where you said change has to happen bottom-up. So it needs to start at local level with cities, and cities need to partner up with their national governments and with the European level in a strategic partnership. And I think this is exactly the line of what we are talking about here, and also a perfect handover to our statement that we are launching today on the social Europe. What is the vision of cities for moving social Europe forward? And we will have many examples of concrete actions and pledges here. But first, I want to hand over to our colleague Sedat Arif from Malmö, who is the chair of our Social Affairs Forum, deputy mayor in Malmö, to present what Eurocities at large has formulated as a statement on this topic. So Sedat, I've seen you before on the screen.
Yes.
Somewhere there, great. And I hear you.
Can you hear me, Ivo?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. The floor is yours, Sedat.
Thank you very much for the word, Ivo. Dear members of European Parliament, dear representatives of the European Commission, and dear fellow city representatives and dear friends. The past 7 months have been very challenging for us as city administrations and for all of our citizens, of course. Many people have lost their jobs and their income, and some had to close down even their business. Many of us have family or friends affected by the virus, and some even lost dear ones. And all of us had our lives turned upside down by this virus, being by teleworking, homeschooling, or moving online most of our social services. This is an unprecedented crisis in Europe that is deepening social inequalities and putting our European social model at risk. Pre-existing inequalities like the digital divide have become now more visible in our cities. But I believe this crisis has also taught us positive lessons to strengthen our social Europe. Dear fellow mayors and deputy mayors, you have all stepped up in an unprecedented way with fast and immediate responses to help the most vulnerable. We have all stretched our healthcare and social services sometime beyond limits to get urgent support to all in need. Many of us found more people in need, previously unknown to our social services, who are now coming forward to ask for help. They may be students, young people, freelance professionals, or undocumented migrants who are now at risk of poverty, the new urban poor. I applaud all of your efforts to protect all these people from falling through the cracks. Without the quick actions of our city councils, many more people across Europe would be facing poverty, and the recession would be much deeper. Dear members of European parliaments, a strong and social Europe is about acting fast in solidarity to help people in need, and our cities have shown this is possible. Dear Commission of officials, a strong and social Europe is about a strong and social investment. Our cities have been able to respond promptly to this crisis because of our own investment in public healthcare and social services and in infrastructure. But cities cannot act alone. While we are doing our best to make the most of our municipal budgets, we are faced with budget shortfalls due to this crisis at the same time as we face an increasing demand for social services in our cities. This is not just an urban problem. It is a European problem that needs European support. We have all seen in this pandemic how essential healthcare infrastructure and social services at local level for our society. We need to learn from the past financial crisis, and I believe the EU has learned in the way it responded very differently, in more solidarity way to help the most vulnerable immediately. But this does not stop there. We need to learn from the past also for how we come out of the crisis. This should also be different, a more ambitious, fair and inclusive recovery with a strong social investment at local level. We need to change the EU approach to social investment by looking at the spending for social infrastructure and social services as an essential investment, not a cost, and keeping it outside of strict state aid rules. The EU recovery plan must boost investment in local social services and infrastructure, which is essential for social cohesion. Cities' efforts should be supported financially, including through the REACT EU recovery instrument and the European Social Fund Plus, with a clear emphasis on channeling the funds to where they're most needed, in the cities. We call for cities to have a seat at the table when the national recovery plans are developed and priorities are set for the recovery and resilience facility of the next generation EU. This is the right way to ensure that priorities match the social challenges in our cities. But we need to do more than just undo the effects of this pandemic crisis. We need to build back a better, a stronger social Europe means putting people first in all EU policies. This means putting social policy high on the EU agenda alongside the goals for the climate neutrality and digital transformation. We need the EU to strengthen the social dimension within its economic and environmental priorities. We as cities fully support the goals of the Green Deal and Digital Europe. We call for a more ambitious goal for just transitions to help all people in need. Green transition can have important positive employment effects only if efforts are made to invest in retraining, upskilling and reskilling and supporting inclusive labor markets. We should avoid energy poverty due to increased energy costs. Recent research estimates that at least 20 billion of social investment is needed to support just transition to low carbon economy by 2030. A stronger social Europe is about finding European solutions to common social challenges faced by many Europeans. More than 75% of Europeans live in urban areas and face specific urban challenges, such as the lack of affordable housing, gentrification, homelessness, and insufficient places for childcare, among others. These are urban challenges that need European solutions by reinforcing the EU social agenda with a strong urban dimension. We call for a place-based approach to poverty through an EU anti-poverty framework that would allow for developing local pacts to fight poverty in the most deprived urban areas. The EU should support local schemes of child guarantee with integrated measures to address the specific needs of children most in need at local level. We need the EU to support cities in tackling the housing crisis by enabling more affordable housing and fighting homelessness. We need the EU to unlock cities' potential in driving quality jobs and skills training through the Just Transition Fund to support integrated local plans for upskilling and reskilling, and by supporting social economy ecosystems in cities. Last but not least, we call on the EU to support local plans for integration and inclusion of migrants, as well as Roma people. Finally, a stronger social Europe means a Europe that is inclusive in its governance of social policy. Cities are allies in pushing social Europe forward. We have already proven our commitment to the implementation of the European Pillar of Social Rights by taking real action and earmarking social investments for this purpose. I am happy to announce that the Eurocities campaign, Inclusive Cities for All, collected so far 60 city pledges representing over 50 million people, pulling together financing for social investment worth of 14.2 billion euros. I applaud the efforts of all cities taking part in this initiative. My city, Malmö, just as other 16 cities, committed to improve childcare and support to children. Malmö is investing each year over 282 million euros into inclusive education and childcare from a young age. We have set up 6 family centers where all people, especially those with migrant background, can find childcare and preschool, health and social counseling, pedagogical support, and language learning for children and parents, all under the same roof as a one-stop shop. We are committed to opening an additional family center later this year to respond to the increasing demand and needs from families seeking support for better integration. Many cities have pledged, just like Malmö, do their best to ensure all people can access and enjoy their social rights. European leaders to engage us as key partners. We are ready for a new pact between the EU and city leaders to shape together the action plan for implementing the European pillar of social rights. Based on this pact, cities should be engaged as essential partners in the design, implementation, and monitoring of social policies that directly impact people on the local level. We can build back a better and stronger social Europe if and only if we work together and join forces. Thank you for listening to me.
And thank you very much, Sedat, for sharing both the example of Malmö and also outlining the statement of Eurocities that is launched today. I just checked online. It's, of course, the top news of Eurocities website this morning, and you can download it there and you can read all that Sedat described more in detail in the policy paper that we have online here. It's quite a extensive read, so it's very detailed. It has a lot of content, so it's really worth taking a closer look and reading it through. Thanks a lot for presenting that and also for introducing the pledges, 60 pledges you said, and we have 22 new ones. And this is what I really like about this organization. It's not only about producing papers and asking for political solutions and a seat at the table. It's at least to the same extent about doing things and about committing themselves to doing good and making a more social Europe happening in your city. And these pledges are all about this, doing something at the ground level that improves the quality of life of people in the city, that improves the level of inclusiveness, and that makes a stronger social city, a stronger social region, and a stronger social Europe. And I'm happy we will be able to hear more examples in the coming phase of this digital conference. We have prepared quite some good examples and we have clustered them. So Malmö started already with mentioning child care and support to children, which is responding to the principle 11 of the pillar of social rights. So we will focus on childcare and support to children in this first round of examples from cities. And I would just like to give the floor to Ghent as a first example, where we have Rudy Coddims, the deputy mayor there, who is prepared to share the example of Ghent. Please, the floor is yours.
Dear members of the European Parliament and Commission, dear colleagues, good morning from Ghent in Belgium. We all agree that no child should be left in need of anything. However, 1 out of 5 children in Ghent is born in a deprived family. Poverty is not a choice. This applies even more to children and youngsters. Preventing and eliminating poverty is one of our highest municipal priorities. That is why we pledge to focus extra on Principle 11 of the European Pillar of Social Rights. To fight poverty, a record budget of 434 million euros is allocated to our social service. Together with the budgets that other city services deploy, more than 570 million euros are invested to tackle poverty in years to come until 2024. It is no less than 10% of our total city budget. Poverty starts with a lack of financial means, but affects life in all domains. Therefore, our anti-poverty policy is an integrated and holistic local policy. For the city of Ghent, it is a key ambition to help guarantee basic social rights to all inhabitants. For example, we advance the right to social security and assistance by reaching out to every vulnerable family in Ghent, especially nowadays, given the impact of COVID-19 on daily life. In Ghent, we responded quickly and with joint forces to the challenges COVID-19 brought. We immediately raised financial support for vulnerable households. Since 2015, the city has provided additional financial support for households receiving a so-called government living wage in order to guarantee a decent income. We extended this support to all households with an income critically below the poverty limit. As an example, since the month of May already, vulnerable households that receive a sick leave or unemployment benefit can get this additional aid in order to deal with life becoming more expensive during the COVID-19 pandemic. What we need is joint responsibility taken by all governments levels and structural solutions for tackling poverty by sharing knowledge, regulating children's and young people's fundamental rights, and joint financial contributions. Moreover, to eliminate child poverty, initiatives and support must be available in all life domains and in all sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, the City of Ghent pledge on Principle 11 of the European Pillar of Social Rights serves only one goal: to make sure, together with all of you, that no child in the EU needs our support to lead a decent life. On behalf of all of them, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rudy, for this example from Ghent. I just want to say all these examples are to be found on a new website that we will show you later today that is also launched now, so you can read in detail what it's all about. And I would like to remind the upcoming speakers to keep the timing of 2 minutes that we said, so we can hear everybody, to just dip a bit into what you're doing, because of course there is a lot more to say, but it's also available there. Today it is a bit of a speed networking exercise where you show the best of it. And I'm happy to hand over to Bristol now, where we have Helen Godwin, the Councillor for Women, Children and Young People. And I think your theme is around becoming a city of belonging, which I found a very interesting term. So tell us about it, please.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here and to see you all. Thanks for inviting us to be part of this wonderful event. In Bristol, too many of our young people are negatively impacted by poverty. Around 25% of our children are growing up in poverty, and also by exclusion, whether that's from school, from housing, or from our wider society. We're therefore committed to developing a city that provides for all its children and to reducing inequalities. Bristol has developed the Children's Charter, which is a set of pledges to set the rights of children as a priority for decision makers. Our Children's Board, made up of partners from across the city, aimed to use our collective resources to tackle trauma and adverse childhood experiences. Our new belonging strategy will seek to help our children reach their potential in a city where they feel they can belong and thrive. A stronger social Europe means strengthening social cohesion at the local level, and for us in Bristol, continuing to collaborate with our European friends and partners to create cities where all children can have a good start in life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen, for this overview of Bristol. And let's go to Nicosia now, where we have the mayor of Nicosia, Konstantinos Jongerius, online. So please, Konstantinos, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. It's very nice to be part of this great effort. Our priority is to sustain the right for equal treatment and opportunities to social protection, services and employment, regardless of gender, racial and ethnic origin, religion of belief, disability, age, or sexual orientation. In this context, we are particularly committed to provide equality of opportunity and anti-discrimination practices, ensuring every single child has access to social services and child support programs. Nicosia has promoted a range of measures and programs within the framework of strategic development plans of Nicosia, establishing facilities such as daycare, community and job centers, aiming in providing after-school services to the most vulnerable of children coming from all ethnic backgrounds, to help reconcile family and employment responsibilities. Usually, this is focused on single mothers, to improve the position of women, young and unemployed people in their economic and social life. Nicosia, dear friends, remains committed to provide the right measures to achieve successful social integration policies. Unfortunately, our efforts to change the current state practices in Cyprus of a centralized social policy have not been as successful as we would have liked. We're not, in our opinion, considered by our government as equal partners. This refusal does not allow us to plan more strategically and long-term policies, nor to become more effective. Nevertheless, and regardless of these difficulties, we believe that European cities together can build a stronger, inclusive, and more social-oriented Europe if they are committed to contributing to a more inclusive society, ensuring equal opportunities and active support to all its citizens. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Konstantinos, for this example and also for your inspiring words, because I think this is exactly describing what we are doing here, working together, standing together to create something stronger together. And let's see what Bilbao is doing. I understand from you in Nicosia that you have a quite holistic approach. So it's not only targeting special activities, it's taking the whole life into consideration. In Bilbao, I understand you are doing the same. And I would like to hear more from you, Itxaso Eroteta. So I saw you online. Yes, you are here. So the floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And good morning from Bilbao. I hope you're all healthy and doing well. Answering your question, I would say that Bilbao City Model pays special attention to youth and seniors. And for this purpose, we promoted the Pact for Social Policies in 2018, an agreement between different political parties to reinforce our commitment to social cohesion and equality through the elaboration of policies where the values of solidarity, dignity, and human growth prevail, all in line with the European Pillar for Social Rights with Principle 11 and Principle 18, more specifically. Focusing on Principle 11, Bilbao City Council seeks to create a positive impact in more than 50,000 girls, boys, and adolescents, representing 14.5% of the population. We want to be a key player in the personal growth and social progress of these individuals, and we designed a plan for the child and adolescents for 2018-2021 with initiatives like the Municipal Council for Child and Adolescents, that is a permanent body for the participation and representation, and a wide range of socio-educational and psychosocial programs and services and spaces to underage and families called Haurgunes, Kidegunes, and Gaztegunes in Basque. Bilbao is also working with 2 subsidy lines focused on childhood. And finally, I just want to say that a stronger social Europe means investing in people, in values, and in the quality of life and rights of every single human being. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think everybody agrees on your last words here. And that's also a perfect handover to our next city, because if I understand it correctly, Po is investing also in every single person and in every single boy and girl, and especially focusing on creativity and access to culture in the example that you are going to share, Régie Laurent, the Deputy Mayor for Youth. We are happy to have you here. Please, the floor is yours. At least I saw that you were there, coming in from a different account.
Yes, can you see and hear me?
At least I can hear you. I'm not sure whether you're on the screen, but we hear you clearly. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to tell you where is Po in southwest of France, near Pyrenees Mountains, Spanish frontier, and Atlantic Ocean. As we say, we are human capital, is our tagline. With around 2,100 citizens, we offer every services as a capital does, and we have a good human size for relationship and care. So you will easily understand that our main ambition is to enhance personal achievement and equal opportunities for each citizen, particularly the most vulnerable, and first of all, children. I can take 3 examples. First, we developed a territorial network of childcare houses with guaranteed access for children under age of 3. 2, we have priority neighborhood where we have poorest population, and we have developed innovative educative actions to offer equal opportunities. La Cité Éducative includes new pedagogic approaches support parents, and we created a mini city of science and experimentation center where are involved 15 colleges and schools. And third, and perhaps the most interesting, we installed and support a new intensive musical education, all for free for children in those priority neighborhoods. El Camino Young Orchestra. The young people involved are issued from a social background where for all very far of musical culture, and without the orchestra, most of them probably never have seen an instrument for real. It gives them a chance to prove they can reach their goal and teach them passions, sense of teams, taste of work, rigor, and also trust in themselves and conviviality. We have 350 children involved for the last 3 years, and it's magic to see how they progress. At that Policies is a real success. We are the first town in France to have created this year a public establishment that merged both the symphonic orchestra and young inclusive orchestra El Camino. You told it, the crisis of COVID revealed that the breathless ones are the first involved, and we have to help in priority our children and youth. So for us, a stronger social Europe is giving opportunities for everyone to be integrated in the city and develop his own talent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Régie, for the music from Po. And let's move to the final example on childcare pledges to Istanbul. Kan Akin Chagla is online and will share what Istanbul is doing. Please. Are you online? I cannot hear or see you. Anyone from the colleagues seeing Istanbul? I see a hand.
Hello from Istanbul.
Ah, now we hear you.
Yeah. Originally, our Secretary General, Can Akın Çağlar, was supposed to be here, but I believe due to a technical problem, he could not connect. So I would be happy to present our pledge on behalf of our mayor, our Secretary General, and our city, Istanbul.
Perfect. Please go ahead.
Well, good afternoon again from Istanbul. dear members of the Parliament and fellow city representatives. I am very delighted and honored to salute you here, and I would like to present to you Istanbul's pledge, showing our strong commitment to childcare and support to children. As you all know, Istanbul is a mega city. It is home to 16 million people and nearly 4 million children. And each and every one of our 4 million young citizens has a right to equal opportunities. However, unfortunately, 28% of Istanbul's children live in poverty. And we know inequality starts very early in life and deepen as children grow up. And it is definitely our job to provide all children a fair start in life. This is why in Istanbul, we focus on early childhood services particularly. I would like to offer some concrete examples of our actions so far. We are building 150 childcare centers in 150 neighborhoods all across Istanbul, and this will provide affordable and quality services for low-income families in early childhood education and care. As of this week, we are happy to announce 15 of our centers have already opened their doors, and tomorrow we will celebrate this. In addition to our childcare centers, we weekly deliver milk to low-income families with young children. So far, we have delivered over 5 million liters of milk to 115,000 children, and this continues for 3 years. This is a long-term program. And as a member of the Global Urban 95 initiative, we have launched Istanbul 95. 1,300 families with babies join our program for parent coaching. This is also a long-term program which goes on for 3 years. And we are improving all our playgrounds, building new parks. We are also in the process of drafting Istanbul's master plan for playgrounds. This is all to secure our children's right to play as well. We strive to mainstream children's rights and well-being across all our fields of work, from urban planning to transportation services. And these are only the initial steps to realize our vision to make Istanbul an inclusive, fair, and child-friendly city. This is definitely an ambitious goal in a city of 16 million, but our children deserve nothing less. As Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, we are proud to pledge to make further progress on Principle 11 in our city, and we are proud to stand together with all of you and work together for a stronger Europe for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yaprak, for sharing this impressive example. I mean, also already the number of 60 million is impressive, but your pledge, your commitment is also. And it also shows a bit that what is needed also, I mean, we talked about it's needed to focus on every single person, to leave no one behind. And at the same time, it's important to think big, because there are many people in need. And for this, you need to think big and provide the right solutions, which is great to see how Istanbul is doing it. And thank you all for the other examples on childcare. We are moving to the next cluster of themes. We have heard about housing already in the keynote today. So housing is, of course, a key question, a key topic for social inclusion. And also one has come up new that has always been there, but the COVID pandemic showed its importance again, and that is healthcare. And both of those sectors, housing and healthcare, need investments. And some of you already mentioned that social costs should be seen as investments and not as costs. And so let's focus on some of those investments and commitments and the pledges of some of our cities. And the first one in this group would be Leipzig, please, where Deputy Mayor Thomas Fabian is online to share what you're focusing on healthcare now. Please.
Hello, Ivo. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clearly.
Okay. I hope one day we'll be able to meet in person. Dear Sedat, dear Annalisa, dear members of the European Parliament, dear colleagues. I'm pleased to be able to present to you our second pledge. The city of Leipzig believes that social policy should aim with a specific emphasis to protect, support and promote inclusion for the most vulnerable groups in our society, in our cities. And this includes people with mental health illnesses who often face great constraints in their lives. such as loss of employment, homelessness, and social exclusion. That's why we commit ourselves to offer easily accessible, community-based social and psychological support, and especially is empowering structures. This includes supporting organizations, and we have several of them in Leipzig, in which people who have themselves experiences with psychiatric institutions, who have been patients, have an active role in developing their services. This follows a decade-long focus on social psychiatry in Leipzig, in which needs for housing, employment, and social support are addressed alongside medical therapeutic treatment. The city of Leipzig coordinates, manages, and finances psychosocial services for people with severe mental health problems. In 2020, this year, the city of Leipzig covers costs of 3.5 million euros for these services. And this is a 30% increase in the budget since 2015. And additionally, we will invest 2 million euros for the building of a new community mental health center, which will further strengthen inclusion of people with severe mental health problems. And we believe it is very important to invest in social policy, but also in the social infrastructure, which in the end means also having the specific buildings. We are committed to stabilizing and adapting the existing services to new needs, especially in the situation we have today with the corona pandemic. Because a stronger social and inclusive Europe for us means a Europe that supports and empowers people who are among the most disadvantaged and marginalized. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Thomas, for sharing this example. Let's go to housing and homelessness and what Lille does about this. We have Anne Voiturier, the Vice President of the Lille Metropole, with us to share your example, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone from Lille. In Lille Metropole, do you hear me?
Yes,
yes,
perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. In Lille Metropole, 95 villages and cities, we believe that access to housing is a fundamental right for every citizen. However, with the rise of homelessness, the increase in rent prices and unfit housing, there is a need for an ambitious and coordinating response. In order to fight homelessness and provide decent and affordable housing to all, Lille Metropole dedicates 65 million euros per year for housing policies. We are also very engaged in implementing those first to support homelessness people and provide them with housing. We are committed to intensify our efforts to tackle homelessness and to guarantee housing for all. To match our words with action, we will continue to develop our social observatory for homeless and vulnerable people, because without data and analysis, you cannot deploy adequate solutions. Second, we will build 2,300 new social housing units per year and renovate 2,500 per year. Third, we will rehabilitate accommodation centers and build specially adapting housing, boarding houses in particular. Fourth, we will keep increasing the accessibility of vulnerable households to social housing, including homeless people. 5, we will develop more personalized support that combines housing, health, job, and social integration, as we firmly believe that those issues need to be addressed as a whole and not separately. More inclusive cities are vital to ensure a stronger social Europe. We remain committed to providing housing for all, fighting homelessness, personalizing social support for households, and more globally, encouraging social diversity in our housing policies. In doing so, we aim to achieve the objective of Principle 19 of the European Pillar of Social Rights. Thank you for your kind attention. Pas entendu?
Sorry, Ivo, you're muted.
C'est bon? Alors là, qu'est-ce que je fais pour les entendre?
Bah, c'est tout.
Ivo, we still cannot hear you.
Am I still muted or can you hear me?
No,
we
okay.
hear you.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, sorry for that. I haven't touched anything, I think. Thank you for the example from Lille and also for referring to the Principle 19, because this is exactly the principle of the European Pillar for Social Rights that Athens is working on and focusing on. And we are happy to have Grigoris Leon, the city councillor and president of Athens Reception and Solidarity Center with us. And I guess, Grigoris, that you will tell us about this. Please, the floor is yours. Grigoris, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Thank you for the invitation and good morning to all of you. Well, what I want to tell is that, first of all, the socioeconomic crisis in Greece over the past years, as well as the recent COVID-19 pandemic, have inevitably exacerbated the social inequalities in Athens. In fact, what we focused is on the right to proper housing. We believe that this right is an important right for all the people and also a prerequisite for social cohesion. To ensure the right to housing and assistance for the homeless people, we did a lot of things, but I will only mention you three of them because I want to respect also the time that we have available. First of all, we created the City of Athens Multipurpose Homeless Center, which is a huge building which has three structures, we can say, a day center, a dormitory, and 2 hostels. As I told you, has a huge capacity of accommodation, but for us it's not only to accommodate these people, is also we offer them psychological assistance, and we also offer them social assistance and support for labor market integration, because the final destination is to the reintegration of the homeless people to the society. Well, the second thing that we did is that we opened an accommodation center for homeless people with drug addictions. There also not only with the mentality just to accommodate them, but also to offer them counseling and psychological support and other support that they especially needed. And finally, the third example is that we are actually opening a social pathology surgical clinic, a social mental health clinic, and a social dental clinic for the homeless people, but also for all of the vulnerable people in the country, in the city. What I can say as closure is that a stronger social Europe for us means that everyone that needs assistance could have the possibility to get it, and is what we believe in Athens and what we try to realize in this term. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grigoris, for sharing this. My colleague Bianca is putting the links to the full overview. So as you said, you respect the time, but you can read all the details online, of course. So find the links in the chat and visit them later after this. Thank you very much. We have one more example on housing, and that is Zaragoza, and Sarah Ferrandis is with us. Please tell us about your pledge.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
To me? Can you hear me? Yes? Okay.
Now we hear you, yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting us to this digital conference. So, dear European friends, Zaragoza believes it is crucial to tackle homelessness and provide housing assistance from an early stage. It is one of the social challenges we are facing in this city. We are aware that homelessness is one of the most extreme ways in which poverty is shown in our cities and establishes one of the categories of severe housing exclusion. As one of the priorities of the City Council in order to build a more social city and a more social Europe, Zaragoza committed to Principle 19 of the European Pillar of Social Rights, Housing and Assistance for the Homeless. The municipal work plan is managed by the Specialized Social Services Unit with an annually total amount of 2.5 million euros from the municipal budget. We can highlight two main programs in line with our pledge. First, we count with the Municipal Homelessness Program, where the work is centralized at the municipal shelter, Albergue Municipal, and managed by the Temporary Accommodation Unit. On the other hand, we have the Slums and Non-Adequate Housing Program, referring to the ones living on temporary structures and slums and non-adequate housing. In order to give a response to this problem, the City Council counts with the Program for Social Help for Non-Adequate Housing and Elimination of Slums, managed by the Temporary Accommodation Unit in cooperation with the Federico Ozana Foundation, a local foundation for social inclusion. We should also highlight that the Zaragoza City Council has launched two official documents that help to give a coordinated and integral response to these social needs. First, the Municipal Strategy for Social Inclusion of People at Risk of Exclusion and Slums Eradication. And second, the integral plan for homelessness in the city of Zaragoza. From the Zaragoza City Council, we believe that cities as a closest administration to the citizens are essential to work for a stronger social Europe. We face difficult times now, and a collective European response is vital for a good recovery. Thank you very much for all.
Thank you, Sarah, and the other colleagues for sharing examples about healthcare and housing. Another dimension of inclusion, social inclusion, is work, access to the labor market. And during the pandemic, many people have lost their jobs. So training, education, upskilling, reskilling is becoming more important, even more important now. And we have some examples of city pledges on this. And I would like to start with Berlin and with Katarina Nivitsial from the Senate and being a Commissioner for Integration and Migration. Please let us know about the example from Berlin.
Thank you very much, Ivo. Can you hear me? Just
yes,
to check.
We hear you.
Great. Hello, everybody. I'm very thankful to be in the round for the first time, and I'm happy to hear all the best view and perspective on a stronger social Europe. My part is to announce our city pledge, the City Pledge of Berlin. And we are committed to the European social rights, focus on the first principle, which is active support for employment. How do we do that? I would just explain 2 points. We do this in 2 ways. The first way is that Berlin is implement a program which is called Solidarisches Grundeinkommen, which is basically, or it's a solidarity basic income for a group of people which are long-term unemployed. This program is designed for 5 years, and in that time, the government of Berlin support about 1,000 long-term unemployed Berliners by financing their income for jobs in very defined areas which serve the well-being of society and the public interest. And the interesting part is of the program that if there is no transition to regular employment within the 5 years, the state of Berlin will guarantee to continue ongoing employment for those beneficiaries. The second point, which is also due to the support for employment, is to focus on young people under 25 and to strengthen the employment of young people, supporting by vocational training, qualification, and to help them to enter the labor market. How do we do this? We created a new agency, so-called Jugendberufsagentur, Youth Employment Agency, as a one-stop solution. Why? Because we think we should avoid the young people are going lost in our bureaucracy. And this new agency combine all institutions which are related to the young people and the labor market, and those institutions are collaborating. So we are talking about the Department of Education, the Labor and Social Service, the Federal Employment Agency, and also district administration with a focus of young people. Those 2 points are very important for Berlin, and I think that the outlook is to strengthen the social rights, especially in times of COVID-19 pandemic. And we will therefore continue to work, as you already said. For us, it's really important doing and committing and on the very practical level. So this is our pledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Katharina, for this example from Berlin. I would like to remind the following speakers to keep the 2 minutes, because we also have an interesting panel discussion ahead and so on. So let's see that we get as many examples as possible. As the one from Cluj-Napoca, as the next one, also focusing on education and training. Emil Bock, the mayor, is with us. We are pleased to have you here and happy to hear more.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, greetings from the very heart of Transylvania, Romania, Cluj-Napoca. I'll be very short and I would like to touch a few points. First, about education. In my view, investment in education is the best investment in the world because there is no risk of bankruptcy. So it's our philosophy at the base. Second, education is the key to get out of poverty. We have a Roma community in the city because as a big city, we do have also such a problem. Our philosophy, our strategy is integration through education. Because if you do not have education, have no jobs, and you are not going to be integrated on long term. Of course, no one is left behind in our city, and no one gets social assistance in terms of Roma, for example, if they are not sending kids to school. It's so important, and we are taking care of transport, we are taking care about after school, about anything is concerning infrastructure, and now in the digital era, with what we mean digital education, we provided computers and at the same time free Wi-Fi in their area to get access to the digital education even so. The third point which I'd like to mention is that 20% of our local taxes are going to education. It's important to invest. Fourth, it's eco, not ego. It's important to work as an ecosystem in the city. So we are creating the C-Edu Cluj cluster education, working together, public administration, universities, and other stakeholders in the city in order to innovate and to move forward with education philosophy. So that would be my very short approach. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Emil, for sharing this. We go to Finland up to the north and hear from the mayor, Ritva Viljanin, about your upskilling efforts. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for those wonderful presentations what I have heard. Vantaa, with about 235,000 residents, is the most multicultural and the fastest growing city in Finland. For this reason, we have several development projects and operating models that are connected with education and upskilling. For Vantaa, our challenge is to improve employment possibilities, raise the level of education of a labor force, and develop and increase jobs. We have made good progress to tackle this challenge, for instance, with long-term unemployment and youth unemployment. However, now the coronavirus pandemic has raised unemployment and furloughs quite heavily. Vantaa has taken many measures to face the challenge. Starting next year, a new experiment on unemployment services with municipalities will begin, and Vantaa will take care of many services previously organized by the state. 100 state employment officials will transfer from the state to Vantaa. The aim is to take care of unemployment more efficiently and cohesively. Also, next year, the age limit for compulsory education will rise from 15 years to 18 years. This means that all young people must pass upper secondary education in Finland. Additionally, Vantaa has established a service called Vantaa Skills Center, which supports and guides our immigrant residents with employment issues, and one-stop guidance center, Ohjaamo, for young people, which guides them in virtually all situations. These centers offer low-threshold services and can be visited without an appointment. And finally, the way to increase upskilling, which is included in Vantaa's pledge for the European Pillar of Social Rights, is by our Urban Innovative Action Project. This project is co-funded by the European Union. The quite far-reaching project is called Growth and Social Investment Paths for Local Companies. The aim is to firstly develop the skills and secondly to support digitalization and automatization development of companies in Vantaa. Both are important measures for developing businesses, business possibilities and the skills of residents. The aim is to create and combine business growth, responsibility and social aims of a city. As is the case in all development, best results come from co-creation. As a city, Vantaa is committed to facing this challenge with good partners from businesses, educational institutions and organizations. A stronger social Europe comes from us all working together towards the same goals. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much with this example from Vantaa. And let's go to the last example around work, education and jobs training to Rennes and to Annabelle Marie, a councillor, who will tell us about your pledge, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. In Rennes, one of the main social challenges is social and professional integration, a policy to which the city and the metropolis devote 32 million euros of their budgets. To respond to this challenge, we are implementing the Rennes Integration Pact to improve access to rights and professional integration for more than 11,000 citizens per year. Full employment is our goal. I will take 3 examples. First, we are experimenting with the Territory of Zero Long Unemployed program. The aim is to put long-term unemployed back to work by creating jobs that they are useful for the economic and social life of neighborhoods strongly affected by unemployment. To do this, we are implementing innovative actions intended to remove the obstacles to employment. Another example, we are strengthening our neighborhood employment plan, which aims to promote employment and professional integration in priority neighborhoods. For this, we promote the creation of activity in these neighborhoods and strengthen the impact of social clauses in public contracts so that they benefit the inhabitants more. Final example, Rennes Metropole is piloting the local plan for integration and employment to provide personalized support to people excluded from employment. This plan, financed by ESF, benefits 900 people per year. For Rennes, a stronger social Europe would be a Europe which provides more support for these actions in the neighborhoods most affected by unemployment and directly supports cities committed to employment, notably through the ESF+. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Annabelle. And we're heading for the last cluster in our example round, 6 more cities. And we have like the cross-cutting theme of equal opportunities now at the end, because everything we talked about, housing, education, healthcare, needs to be equally accessible for all people. That's what inclusiveness is all about. So let's look into the first example here, which comes from Amsterdam. And we have Deputy Mayor Rutger Groot-Wassink with us. Please let us know about your pledge.
Thank you, Mayor, very much for the possibility to participate in this conference. And let me state that this pledge is not only on behalf of Amsterdam, but also on behalf of Helsinki, Ghent, Gijón, Frankfurt, and Utrecht. As cities, we do our utmost to provide equal opportunities for our citizens. But unfortunately, we see that COVID-19 has accelerated the already existing inequalities within our city. As cities, we make large investments to mitigate the effects of this crisis. For example, we support the current unemployed. We focus on the prevention of unemployment. And we have special attention for youth that emerge in vulnerable groups. We also provide more opportunities for lifelong learning and the development of skills in order to adapt to the changing labor market. Because we see that the changing labor market, and especially the flexibilization of the labor market, deepens inequalities and strengthens differences already between groups. Furthermore, we use place-based approaches to support households to counteract poverty via programs to prevent debts. In the Netherlands, we seek debt-free cities, for example. And lastly, our cities prevent and tackle discrimination at the labor and housing market to stay accessible and open for everyone. As cities, we invest millions and millions of our city budget in order to tackle this wicked problem of inequality. All these actions aim to break through the system barriers in our society. We want to prevent that the place or family where you're born determines your future. And we see that there are a lot of systematic barriers, for example, on the labor market, in the housing market. A stronger social Europe means an inclusive Europe, where the urban dimension is recognized and the action plan to implement the pillar of social rights. As cities, we are determined to combat social inequality. And we look forward to help to work, to cooperate with European institutions and with European support to keep on fighting the rising inequality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rutger. One group with high vulnerability and with difficulties to access to anything are refugees. Even access to Europe is difficult for them, as we are seeing just after the fire in Moria and the refugee camp brought the topic on the headlines again. But it has been there for a long time. It will be there for a long time, and Stuttgart is concentrating on this. So we are looking forward to hear your example from Alexandra Süßmann, Deputy Mayor of Stuttgart, please.
Thank you very much, Ivo. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. A warm welcome to all, also from my side. It's a great pleasure for me to join the conference. Our most pressing social challenge is to integrate and to enable participation in the social and economic life of Stuttgart for fugitives. We are addressing this in the pledge as follows. The key to integration participation is to speak the language, to have a place to live, and to find work. We try to offer equal opportunities for all on the job market and to let all applicants have a perspective. We want everyone to feel like a real resident of Stuttgart. First of all, the city founded the Stuttgart Bündnis für Integration, a Stuttgart Alliance for Integration. Hand in hand with our alliance partners in politics, administration, and civil society, we make especially designed inclusive offers in all areas to ensure that everyone can live peacefully together on equal terms. Secondly, it's important that no one is isolated in their own community. Therefore, more than 5,000 fugitives are spread all over Stuttgart in 100 accommodations in 23 different city districts. We make sure that everyone is well connected in all areas of life, for example, kindergarten, schools, public transport, good shopping opportunities, and also healthcare. Thirdly, we want to empower our new fellows so that they can contribute with their competencies and potentials. We offer specific and exclusive support in form of language learning courses and tailor-made offers and expertise of the job center staff. To put it in a nutshell, the contribution of the fugitives can be an opportunity and enrichment for Stuttgart, and it's a win-win situation for both sides. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexandra. Another dimension of equal opportunities is gender equality, and that's what Ljubljana is focusing on, and we will hear more from Deputy Mayor Dejan Schneck, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to present our pledge. Unfortunately, our Deputy Mayor cannot be with us, so on his behalf, I will present our pledge. I'm Simona Topoliniak, and I'm coordinator for equal opportunities in Ljubljana. Ljubljana believes it's crucial to achieve gender equality in society. No matter the gender, we all should have the same possibilities and opportunities to realize our potentials and equal rights in all aspects of life. Despite legally guaranteed equality, actual equality has not been achieved in Slovenia yet. Therefore, the City Council of Ljubljana adopted Action Plan Gender Equality in the City of Ljubljana, where priorities and goals for ensuring gender equality development are set. To fully implement gender mainstreaming, we need to raise awareness. So education about gender mainstreaming will be organized for the leadership of the City of Ljubljana. In order to avoid stereotypical and discriminative addressing, we encourage employees in the city administration to use gender-sensitive language. Many activities will emphasize visibility of women, raise awareness about overcoming traditional social roles, and focus on preventing violence against women. For us, a stronger social Europe means a Europe of inclusive cities, where every individual, regardless of their personal circumstances, feel accepted and equal. Thank you very much.
Thank you also for the practical example of gender equality by replacing your male colleague in this call. Thank you very much. Gender equality, also the focus of Madrid, and we will hear from Vice Mayor Begoña Vilasis. Are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Thanks, Ivo. I'm very happy, first of all, to see you all healthy, and I'm very proud to share with you the Pledge of Madrid of gender equality, because this has been a priority for our city for the past 20 years. And even this lately, in this year that we've been governing the city, because we are a new government, we are trying to enforce and enlarge gender equality objectives. Madrid's strategic plan of gender equality includes gender mainstreaming, and this is very important in all municipal policies as the main objective, And we also have other important objectives, such as a city free of violence against women, a city with employment and co-responsibility, in a city with women's leadership and women's participation. We find that this is very important. We really try to reach gender equality, and we have set up the necessary infrastructure so we can reach this objective. Of course, we've trained all our city staff to be aware of gender equality, and we can assure right now that 68% of our budget is proven.
Your microphone seems to be muted now, Begonia.
Okay, we've also increased our municipal resources with a dedicated network of professionals, and to, for example, shelter women that are victims of their partner abuse and their children. And we're trying to fight actively against women victims of trade, human trade. Our newest resources is a 24-hour victim crisis center, and that joins our municipal network of 17 gender equality offices that are spread through all the city. And we, in these centers, what we try to do is prevention, detection, and reparation of violence against women. And I also have to say something that is very important for us, and is that all these measures are being consensus with all political groups in Madrid. And we are 5 political groups in the city of Madrid, and we all join a pact that is the Pact Against Violence, and we all got together and reached an agreement about that. There are 19 points, and we are trying to enforce all these 19 points. However, the pandemic came, and we are seeing how pandemic is changing everything, and this is affecting more to the women than any other, migrant women, elder women, single mothers. We are seeing how they're losing their jobs the first. We are seeing how they're living with more difficulties, and we have react to this reality, increasing our social services. I'm sure that most of the mayors, vice mayors, or deputy mayors that are hearing this are living the same situation. You know, when a crisis comes, the social services of our city halls are of the local level. We have to work the most because we are the closest to the reality, and that is the truth. We are the skin of the administration. So we are having to reinforce all our network, and I think that we have to say this because this is why we need that the 29-27 EU budget. You know, it needs to be aware of this situation. It needs to be aware of the effort that the EU cities are making to keep our social services. They need to be aware that the recovery plan needs to reach this objective. They need to be aware that as cities, we are the perfect tool for the help to reach the people. And we need that the REACT EU regulation to help cities keep their pledges, because we should keep in mind that social resilience is often kept with the cities funds and cities program. I'm sure that all of you, if you're hearing this, you agree with me, and please value what cities are making to help this situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Begonia, also for summarizing once again our main message to the European level here, which is I think you can count on everybody participating here agreeing on this and supporting this position. So it's also about money that we are talking here. It's about engagement on local level. It's about equal opportunities, but it's also on money on a large scale when we talk about social investments. And it's also about money on an individual level. And that's what the last 2 examples that we want to share today are about: fighting poverty on an individual level. And Glasgow, where we have Deputy Leader David MacDonald with us, I think you will share your examples of working with minimum income, and also with the example that Berlin already mentioned, basic income pilot project. So we are eager to hear more.
Thank you, and good morning from Glasgow. It is always a joy to join our dear colleagues in our European family, and indeed we are making pledges for the pillar in relation to Article 14 on minimum income and also on 19 on ending homelessness in Glasgow. And that very much supports our view that a stronger social Europe means a Europe where no one is left behind. Glasgow, as colleagues will know, is a post-industrial city, and much of our city landscape still bears the physical and social scars left by deindustrialization, and that has had a negative impact on the health of our citizens. So we are committed to giving Glaswegians greater hope, ensuring people can reach their full potential to take part in the life of our city. And that means that we need to create not just an inclusive economy, but a well-being economy. And in addition to those efforts, we realise in Glasgow that the current coronavirus crisis gives us a chance to reimagine our city and our society with a focus on ending the entrenched inequalities of wealth and of opportunity. And we think that building community wealth means putting people at the centre of our recovery efforts. We're doing that in Glasgow by ensuring that people have good, secure jobs, because that is one of the most important foundations for that well-being future. We directly supply and support new employment through our £50 million Glasgow Guarantee, the biggest employment programme of its kind in the UK. And that programme is a major focus for us with the looming Brexit disaster on our horizon, particularly for our young people, where it has never been more important that they are supported. At the same time, though, it gives us the opportunity to support local businesses to grow and to prosper. But Glasgow is also a fair work city, and we welcome the recent comments by the President and the European Commission on the establishment of a framework for minimum wages. And we believe that a well-negotiated minimum wage scheme helps to secure jobs and creates both fairness for workers and for companies who really value them. But we are also making real commitments to move forward and to take a leadership role across Europe on the introduction of a universal basic income. In Glasgow, we have committed to a model of being a living wage city, and we are already working directly with 400 employers in the city, benefiting almost 100,000 employees who get paid the Glasgow living wage. We believe that we have years of experience and campaigning that we could be sharing with our peer cities and our European institutions, and we welcome the opportunity today to reaffirm those commitments that we've made for the pledge in order to promote our collective common good and our collective future well-being in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Access to money, to the right wage is one aspect of fighting poverty. Another one is access to essential services that people need. And that is our last example about from Antwerp. And we welcome Deputy Mayor Thomas Moos to share it with us, please, Thomas. Thomas, are you there with us? I'm afraid we cannot hear you.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Yeah, we'd like to pledge on the pillar 20, the access to essential services with a focus on reducing energy poverty. Our city of Antwerp, a port city, is composed of very different neighborhoods with a very different housing stock, but one of the main challenges is we have 70% of our population lives in apartment blocks which are privately rent, and where we have those typical problems with split ownership. This makes large-scale energetic renovation, one of the key goals in Europe's recent policy, very, very challenging in our city. So insufficient access to affordable, reliable and clean energy and the principle of just transition to a greener society is is one of our major concerns. In fact, I'm the Vice Mayor for Environmental Affairs, but also for Social Affairs. So that makes that combination a big challenge. And we're very pleased that we can pledge on this Principle 20. So we are prioritizing our energy poverty on our city agenda with an integrated approach. I just briefly want to present you two things we do in our social department on the one hand and our environment department on the other hand. We make bridges between the two of them. We have in our environmental department an eco house, what we call an eco house, and it's a one-stop shop for households offering all city services on sustainable building and living. So we focus there on energy reduction and renewables, and we showcase solutions like green roofs, and we introduce through workshops, we offer individual advice on energy retrofitting measures. So that service is complemented with the management of loans and grants for sustainable retrofitting, and that we do that, a dedicated policy for the most vulnerable groups. Since years, we conduct yearly 2,000 so-called energy scans for vulnerable groups. And the scans are available to residents with an increased reimbursement from the health insurance fund for medication or doctor fees. This includes 1/5 of our city population. So with the energy scans, a free package of energy saving materials, we place it like LED lamps, energy saving shower heat, head radiator foil, things like that. But so with our energy scans, we try to reach out to the most vulnerable in our city. And the second thing we do is we have an energy team in our social affairs department where we help citizens with the individual request for help related to energy or water. We act like a mediator between energy suppliers and clients. We negotiate feasible repayment plans, and we prevent to cut off energy of water supply. We serve in the water supply 2,500 Pfizer people a year, and in gas electricity we serve 3,500 inhabitants a year. So intensive collaboration between those two services is key in detecting and tackling energy poverty on a household level. The energy team in the social affairs identifies the vulnerable households, which are then helped in behavioral change and of course with loans and infrastructural improvements in the eco house at our environmental department. So the following years, the city commits to continue this approach with strengthening our support for collective renovations of multiple apartment buildings with multiple ownership, where we have those problems of split incentive challenge. So continued EU funding in the domain of local energy transition is vital to realize this principle, notably to experiment with new technologies, methods for behavioral change, or develop new methods of financing inclusive and so just energy transition. We'll do our best with the help from Europe with several EU funding projects. But the main thing today is that we, as a city, support the goals of the European Green Deal as well as the principles of the European Pillar of Social Rights, but still, and we have the same ambition in reducing our carbon emissions as the EU Commission. We have the same track, we follow the same track as Ursula, but still the ambition has to be a just energy transition, and the renovation wave initiative must be reinforced with explicit objectives to reduce energy poverty. And we think about, and there I'll end my pledge, but we think about, for example, the new beefed up energy policies and the proposed inclusion of heating fuels in the emission trading scheme may not lead to increased energy poverty. Revenues from the emission allowances, which we fully support, should be accessible to local governments in order to finance investments in local renewable energy communities accessible for all. So we need due attention, financing and funding at all levels of government, from local to national and EU level, to address energy poverty and prevent its escalation as we shift to green energy. So we firmly believe that energy should be affordable for everyone, including the most vulnerable in our city, and therefore we need a framework of legislation, of means, and of measures that really and fully realize the ambition of a just energy transition. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Tom, for rounding up this list of examples and also for elaborating a bit on how everything is connected. So it's not only, which still would be enough, to focus on the social inclusion, it's also connected to the green transition. So it's not isolated pillars that we are dealing with, it's all connected and we have to see the full picture. Interesting, this pledge from Antwerp is the last one we received so far, so the newest, freshest one, and it's also the first one on this principle number 20, the access to essential services. So there is room for more to join and to come. This was an impressive round of examples I found. I mean, it was quite a lot looking at the time, but I made a lot of notes, as I said in the beginning. I'm sure you had also the chance to note down words and sentences, phrases that you found interesting, and I would be looking forward to seeing later what you have chosen there. We want to take now the ball up that many of you already tackled by saying, for achieving what we want to do and have to do on the ground in our cities, we need to cooperate on national and also on European level. And this is what we want to discuss now, how to do this, how to tackle rising urban poverty, inequalities, and what role is there for the EU, for the European Union, in terms of policy and funding, and what role is there for cities. And for this, we have invited a high-level panel that I would like to introduce. And also, I would like to invite you to put not only your notes on paper, but also this time to put your questions in the chat, because after the first round of the panelists, we will have the chance to bring up your questions in this panel. So please use the chat function to share your questions or comments that we can take up later together with our panelists, who are two members of the European Parliament, as we said in the beginning, co-hosting this event with us. It's Agnes Jongerius and Brando Benifei. And then we have also the European Commission. We have Katarina Ivankovic-Knežević with us. We have the chair of the Social Policy and Employment Committee of the Committee of the Regions, Anna Karjainen. And we have Michiel Graus, the Deputy Mayor for Poverty Reduction of Rotterdam. And again, we welcome Katarina Nivizial from Berlin, the Commissioner for Integration and Migration. And I would like to start with you, Katarina, because let's maybe focus in this first round for the panel on the city needs, and then ask the European level for response. Looking at Berlin, we have been talking about refugees in Stuttgart with your example some minutes ago. Berlin is also a place where many refugees are coming to and need to be integrated. How has the current crisis of COVID affected your situation and the social cohesion in your city? And who are now what many call the new urban poor in Berlin?
Thank you very much again, Ivo. Thanks for the opportunity to explain maybe a little bit more the situation in Berlin and the focus on how the pandemic increase the risk for new groups. First of all, I would like to start with the description of the new urban poor, as you introduced. As you probably know, Berlin is a city of migration with a huge range of different migrant groups. We are talking about 1/3 of the population with the migration background. And each year, around 30,000 people arrive to Berlin from different European countries, but also from outside the EU. And which is really interesting for us is that not only such a group as refugees are difficult to handle, but much more we tackle problems with the EU citizens. Why? Because newcomers generally face two problems right now in Berlin. The first, it tackles problems which are also very related to this high risk of poverty. The first point is, as we already heard in the first session, it's housing, it's bad condition, bad living condition, or even homelessness. And homelessness affects a lot of EU citizens, even more than the refugees. The second point is the access to the labor market. EU citizens and people from abroad, European abroad, faced bad working conditions, lack of health insurance, and also we still have a lot of difficulties for recognition of foreign professional on vocational qualifications. So those people often have to take jobs below the qualification. So moreover, first-time job seekers holding the EU citizenships are not entitled to social benefits, for example, and which means they have no access for German language courses, which are funded by the city. And we can really observe that the pandemic increase these inequalities in a very dramatic way. Let me just put 3 points on that. The first is we have a lot of workers and EU citizens and also refugees and people from abroad, which are highly affected by the pandemic through layoffs and pay cuts because they work in sectors which are very much affected through the pandemic, like hotels, restaurants, cleaning fields. So a lot of them just lost their jobs. On the other hand, we have also a lot of workers which works in a critical infrastructure, we call this, like healthcare, transportation, food, agriculture. And we can observe there a lot of abuses from the part of employers in form of breaches of the COVID-19 preventing measures like hygiene regulations. So I don't know if you saw this or read this. We had very huge problems in the meat processing factories. Where many workers contracted the virus due to improper hygiene conditions. And the third point is higher risk of discrimination. Scapegoating, for example, is a very huge phenomenon, which are witnesses with great concern. So, unfortunately, some politicians are trying to deem migrants responsible for spread of the pandemic. And this increases the social polarization. What we do, we are very keen on fighting on this 3 points. And in my function as the Commissioner of Integration and Migration of the Berlin Senate, we tried to use our channels mainly through social media like Facebook to increase access of multilingual relevant information to social rights, to pandemic-related informations, and also to restrictions. And we try to be proactive in fighting discrimination. We are also very strong. We have a very strong dialogue with another departments in our city and our regional government to ensure that the responses fully address the needs of persons with migratory backgrounds. So I already mentioned the multilingual informations and also their general participation of persons with migratory backgrounds in the decision-making process. those are the main points which I will give you to the further discussion on the social or the pandemic situation in Berlin right now.
Yeah, thanks, Katharina. Just a quick follow-up, maybe a short answer on that, because we're talking about how the EU level can support your local work in Berlin. What kind of funding from the European Union are you using?
We use a lot of funding, and we can, thank you for this question, Ivo, because we still have huge problems to access to the EU funding because it's not flexible enough. Just in a situation like a pandemic, we should be able to refund some fundings very quickly. So it's not so possible. And it's not simple. The procedures are not very simple. On the other hand, we need to support enhancing the capacity building measures for the public administration and networking, including through transnational cooperation mechanisms, such as we do right now. Another point which I think is very important is to allow direct communication between cities and the EU Commission. We always have to communicate through our national level, federal level, and it's very bureaucratic, and we don't have the feeling that our direct needs are addressed to the European level. So those are the 2 points I would address right now. More flexibility in the funding and the direct communication to the European Commission.
Thanks a lot. We will pose these questions to our European representatives later in this round. Thanks a lot. Let's look at another city example in this round, and that would be Rotterdam. You have already pledged before the COVID crisis to address poverty in some territories of your city with 65 million program until 2022. Now COVID has come and has, as many already said, worsened many situations of people who already had trouble. What was the impact of the COVID crisis for Rotterdam? Michiel, who is from there.
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to thank you as organizers for this very important event. Thank you for all the inspiring pledges. So inspiring that I promise we make a third pledge. A first pledge for tackling child poverty. My own role is I'm Vice Mayor for Poverty Reduction, Debt Management and Informal Care. And this European pillar on social rights initiative has the potential to help eradicate child poverty and could be crucial to help us build a Europe leaving no one behind, and especially taking on board the situation of our children and the next generations to come. Since I become the Vice Mayor for Poverty Reduction in Rotterdam, I've had only one goal in mind, and that is breaking the vicious circle of poverty. Because this is difficult. This is a long road. I've opted for an integrated policy approach in which I work together with fellow administrators, partners, scientists, companies, but also with Rotterdammers who lived in poverty. And slowly, this approach was beginning to bear fruit. And then in March, we suddenly end up in the corona pandemic. Our queen, Maxima, she said, do not let this health crisis turn into a poverty crisis. So in order not to let the traces that corona leave behind become too deep, the municipality of Rotterdam has done everything possible in the recent months. Please allow me to highlight some of our successful actions. For instance, intensified contacts with welfare, but also informal organizations, because they are the eyes and the ears in the neighborhood, and they are being trusted by our inhabitants. Second, we ensure that people do not have an empty fridge, and we also work together with food banks. Third, we have a free newspaper on how to deal with money to all Rotterdam residents on the bus. But also, we have arranged over 4,000 laptops and Wi-Fi hotspots for children in primary schools with entrepreneurs and funds. We have also intensified our debt approach by deploying more counselors in the neighborhood, close to the people. We were lenient towards residents and entrepreneurs with payment problems for local charges. We made agreements with all housing corporations and utility companies not to cut off electricity and gas and not evict Rotterdam residents with payment problems. That are great solutions for acute problems, but still we see that the crisis has an enormous impact on our cities and our inhabitants, and we have to do more. So we have agreed that we have a fast response is necessary to prevent the undesirable situations and societal costs. In our approach, we provide extra support for vulnerable families. We have faster debt services. We have an intensification of early identification for debts among young people. But we have also a campaign about will you get out? With this Rotterdam campaign, we break the taboo around debt and call on Rotterdammers to seek help. We have posters of ambassadors in built environment, but also on trams.
You seem to be muted now. Your microphone is off, I think. Is it only me not hearing Michiel?
No, we cannot hear him, Ivo. I think that he might not be hearing us, in fact. So let me try to contact.
It looks like, yeah, it would be great if you could send him a note, Guillermo. Pity, yeah, that's somehow technicalities. But he sees us. Okay, that's good. Oh, we don't hear you. Okay. No? Trying to find the right button. Okay, maybe we should give you a few minutes to find the technical solution for this problem. And in the meantime, let's maybe move on. No, we cannot hear you, unfortunately. It happens. We got a lot of what you were saying. I was going to ask you the same question. Maybe we can come back to you if you find a solution for this, to put the same question as for Katharina, what is needed from the European level to support all the things that you're doing in Rotterdam. Let's go to the third panelist of this round, to Anna Kajainen from the Committee of the Regions, just to see the examples that we heard from Berlin and Rotterdam. Can you complement those? Can you say it's the same ones that you see from other cities and regions? What could you add to this? What is the reported needs in the Committee of the Regions membership reported on needed EU support?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for inviting me this digital conference. And I've been very glad to hear all these good best practices all over the Europe, and especially these two examples from Berlin and Rotterdam. As we have heard today, COVID-19 pandemic has led to a social crisis, which exacerbate pre-existing inequalities while creating new groups of people at risk of poverty. This has been a double whammy for urban areas. The health infrastructures have come under enormous stress, and measures to contain the propagation of the virus have hit hardest urban agglomerations. This has driven inter alia unemployment rates to new heights. This new corona-rooted urban poverty caused by the closing down of businesses across sectors and subsequent job losses adds an extra layer to already existing poverty, which plagues cities and their peripheries. This is why we need to act now and treat resolutely its root causes. As the European Committee of Regions rapporteur on a strong social Europe for just transitions, I underline the importance of continuing to actively combat poverty through support for job-seeking, quality and affordable healthcare, access to education and training, housing, like we already have heard today, and prevention of in-work poverty through adequate wages. However, the new normal we are faced with greatly hampers the successful implementation of measures to address basic social needs. At the same time, looking at the bigger picture, regional disparities are also deepening by the crisis, with people living in deprived urban areas being most heavily affected. These territorial inequalities are one of the main challenges when designing new standards and practices of social and social and employment policies and implementing them. Urban social cohesion is at much greater risk at the moment. There is a need for a permanent dialogue between European, national, regional and local partners in order to identify specific local and regional needs. Dear participants, these urban problems need European solutions to address the core causes of social inequalities and urban poverty. You will not be surprised if I tell you that we need considerably social investment at all local level, with the full involvement of local and regional authorities. Against this backdrop, there is an urgency to strengthen the European Pillar of Social Rights and give it a more territorial focus, particularly in the context of the strengthening social and territorial resilience in the aftermath of the COVID-19 crisis. For this, the local and regional level must be at the center of the future action plan for the implementation of the pillar. In my opinion on a strong social Europe for just transitions, I insist that a strong European social agenda must fully take into account the green and digital transitions and to ensure that no one is left behind. The pandemic has seen an exponential increase of jobs linked to the platform economy. At the same time, teleworking has proved to be beneficial for the environment. But we need to be vigilant when it comes to the working conditions. Precarious job situation in the platform economy and the abuses of working time with the teleworking must be given due attention. The crisis has also demonstrated the need of that I have called digital cohesion. We need investment in connectivity, which is becoming a key element of territorial and social cohesion. Digital skills are needed as well. The Committee of Regions considers it's important for the Just Transition Fund to be in line with the European Pillar of Social Rights, which is intended to reduce regional disparities and to tackle structural challenges in EU regions. I also note that we should take into account the recommendations from the Urban Partnership under the EU Urban Agenda on housing, urban poverty, and jobs and skills in the local economy, and to use participatory working methods to bring about a social Europe too. To conclude, I would like to stress that to be successful, recovery efforts must include the cities and have a strong social dimension. This means that local and regional authorities must be acknowledged as key partners and empowered to play their role to the full.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anne, for this. We are a bit pressed on timing now, but I want very briefly to give also Michael the chance, because Rotterdam is connected again, to very briefly address if you have anything to add to what has been said, what is needed from European level, because then we want to give the MEPs and the Commission the chance to respond. So Rotterdam again, please, briefly. Is your microphone working now? No. Sorry for that, but then we go directly to EU level. We already got some input from cities. I mean, that was the city's space most of the time, so you had to listen all the time. Katarina Ivankovic-Knežević, Director of Social Affairs, the EU Commission. So that was a lot of input. It was good examples, but it was also some requests saying from Berlin, for example, direct access is difficult to funding. It's not flexible enough. It's not really a simple procedure. It's not easy enough for us. And you're not talking directly with us. You're talking with our national governments. So do you have an answer on this? How is the European Commission dealing with this gap that apparently exists?
Well, thank you, Ivo. And first of all, thank you all for being here today. I took your advice and I took many notes on various topics. And first, before I provide $1 million or €1 million reply on how are we going to simplify the procedure, I want to congratulate all the cities. If I counted correctly, it's 19 of them. Is it correct, Ivo?
Yeah, we had even 20.
20, okay, I missed one. So 20 pledges. I think when I started working 2 years ago, I think we had 2, and city of Stuttgart was I think third city to commit and pledge, and I'm so happy to see that over 2 years you have developed this system and you brought it really high. And it is not only important because we can say that a certain city pledged on something. I think what is extremely important that behind the pledges, there is a policy work, there is analysis and assessment of those who need assistance the most. And there is a concrete funding, because we have seen it in all of the pledges where you have concrete actions and concrete allocation for certain activities. It makes me, I can't tell you how happy it makes me that so many cities pledged on the pillar principles relevant for children, but also for housing and homelessness, training not to mention. also what and equal opportunities, or so happy and looking forward to see how the city of Antwerp is going to implement the pillar principle 20. I think this is, if we take the whole pillar, this one is probably the most difficult to implement, because indeed access to essential services goes so much beyond what we consider the social policy in our narrow sense, and it really goes into various of other areas of intervention. So happy to see. Also, what is so visible is that cities were explaining how they concretely implemented certain pillar principles. And I can already tell that many of the cities use European funding for implementing those activities. Just to mention city of Vantaa with Ohjamo, which is, I think, the flagship project of the Finnish flagship project of one-stop shop for young people. I had the privilege and honor to visit one of the Ohjamo shops, and I can tell that it's really great how they work. Or the housing first projects implemented in various member states, which we really also consider extremely important. So first thing, pillar is a huge opportunity, not only because it was jointly proclaimed, but also because we are preparing, and you are aware that we are preparing an action plan for the implementation of the European Pillar of Social Rights. This discussion and this meeting is also contributing to the consultation process. I also would like to ask you to send your contribution. The process is open until the 30th of November. And I think it's very important to hear what you as a city have to say and what you think that it is extremely important. Regarding the funding, and I'm getting there, regarding the funding, the COVID crisis has put really enormous pressure on all of you and also on all of us at the Commission level, if I may say so. I think never in the history of EU legislative proposals and adoption of the proposals, we haven't acted that fast as we did with the CRI and CRI Plus, and securing additional money is there. We also introduced immediate additional money. We also introduced the much better and much faster flexibility when it comes to the reallocation from one fund to the other. And you are right when you say it is mostly implemented, it is mostly managed and coordinated from the national levels. But nevertheless, we see the new possibilities, not only in cohesion funds, in ERDF, ESF Plus, and cohesion per se in the future perspective. We see possibilities in REACT-EU, which is additional 54 billion for continuing 2014-20 financial perspective. And we also see huge potential in the RRF, Reform and Resilience Facility, which is going to be implemented within the member states, but according to your national rules. So the whole RRF, Recovery and Resilience, is going to be implemented by you. The member states are going to define which priorities are the most urgent, the most relevant for them, which reforms are the most urgent and the most relevant. It is front-loaded money because it will be spent starting from 2021 until 2024. So it's extremely short amount of time for funding various, as I said, reforms. What we have seen so far in the discussion with the member states, majority of the funding will be dedicated to different green or different digital or transport or some other challenges, but around a quarter of money is going to be allocated to social policy, which means the reforms in the sphere of the social policy. I think there is a huge potential to work with your national authorities to see how to implement and which reforms should be implemented through the RRF. but also to advocate more for securing an additional funding within the cohesion funds for activities at the local and regional level. Because if we have amount of money that could be spent at the national level from a different fund, and according to extremely, let's say, simple or simplified approach, then I think there is a huge potential that could be left within the cohesion funds for the needs of the local and regional level. And I think this is extremely important that you discuss within the member states, that you discuss with your colleagues and with your counterparts. What is also extremely important is, and the Katharina from City of Berlin has mentioned this, explaining how they have the dialogues with other departments. This is extremely important, to have a dialogue with various ministries, various institutions, various at my level with various DGs, because everything is so interconnected. We cannot detach health services from long-term care services. We cannot detach education for addressing poverty of children. I'm happy to announce, and I know, Ivo, that I don't have much time, but let me just briefly announce several important milestones, if I may say, in the development and the fulfillment of the pillar. So one is definitely the child guarantee, European child guarantee, which is going to be put in place in early 2021, not that early, but end of Q1 or Q2, which will definitely help to address the poverty. As it was stated with our political masters, it is going to be one of the tools to fight the poverty. We are going to address children in need, and we are going to address services that are extremely important for children in need. So early childcare and education, nutrition, health, and housing. But also we are reflecting how to address the aspects that are relevant for children inclusion in the community, such as sport, leisure time, play, music. I was so happy to hear about the city of Po, if I pronounce it correctly, which is investing in a music for children. And this is one of the measures that can really help inclusion of children in the community. The new disability strategy, we did not discuss a lot about disability, but it's important to have in mind that there is going to be a new strategy. Also, the minimum wage, and which is initiative to be presented soon, but also our future planning in the area of minimum income, which will help in securing the social safety nets are in place and are functioning, but also initiatives relevant to housing and addressing housing exclusion and homelessness, where we plan to enhance the cooperation at the EU level and to bring together all the relevant stakeholders who can contribute indeed to eradicate the homelessness. And I think we cannot just disregard that there are still huge poverty and huge social exclusion problems all across the EU. And this is something that we want to address with the pillar, and that we will address with the action plan on the pillar. So please send us your contribution, highlight the importance of the cities. We try also to include the elements relevant for the cities in the pillar, and we hope that you will be able to see how important it is to us, but it's also important to hear your voice.
Thank you
very much. I hope I wasn't too long, Ivo.
No, all good, and thanks for being with us and listening as always. I mean, also your responses show that you have been listening all the time, which is a bit part of what we want for cities, the ear of the Commission for what cities need. So thank you for having been that ear for this conference once again, as you always are. Let's use the remaining time that we have for our co-hosts from the European Parliament. And let's see from Agnes Jongerius first, what you think how the European Parliament is going to address the issues that we just spoke about.
I hope this is working now, okay, because I was thrown out from my iPad and now I'm trying to do this with my iPhone. But thank you for this, organizing this very interesting event. I should start by saying Of course, I am moved by all the good examples being given by the different city in their city pledges. And it's in a way, let's say, in the same line as our former mayor of Amsterdam, who started during the previous Dutch presidency with this urban agenda, and you're working on that. And I think what I like about the way you're addressing these issues, yes, I do agree with, for instance, the colleague from Berlin, that every now and then conversations in Europe are bureaucratic, should go through the national levels, and there we know that at the national level sometimes completely different debates are being held than the debates which are centered in the reality. Also know this from the Dutch perspective. There we are talking about the Frugal Four and our Prime Minister trying to spend as little money at the European level as possible, while on the other hand, at the city level, at the regional level, at the local level, you are much more aligned with the needs and thoughts of local citizens. So, although, of course, people perhaps at the national level are hiding behind the subsidiarity principle and saying there is no real responsibility for the local level for instance, social policies. I'm ever so happy that you don't fall in that trap, but just go and see what's needed in your city, in your community. There has already been talked about the social action plan, which our commissioner at the European level is going to work on. Nicolas Smit, for instance, said, I'm not, of course, I know that housing is perhaps not a European competence, but the growing homelessness is something which worries me, and he is trying to address this issue in the social action plan, and so is the European Parliament. My colleague Estrella Durá could not stay as long as this meeting now took, but she's working very hard on a report on homelessness and social housing in Europe. And me, myself, I am together with my co-rapporteur from the EPP. I'm myself representing the S&D, the Socialists and Democrats family. We are now working on the report to stimulate the commissioner to make a real ambitious program for this just transition and the implementation of the social pillar action plan. At the moment,
are there things from today's debate that you are taking now and that you can use for that work?
Absolutely, because we thought of course, I was very happy with the social pillar. It was progress. But now we should turn this progress into concrete action. So we are now seeing on which issues we should make more binding, less voluntary steps at the European level. And housing is one of them. Of course, decent labor conditions is important too. So we are on the one hand stimulating the debates on European minimum wages, but also address the issues of labor migrants. To the colleague in Berlin, the situation in the Dutch slaughterhouses is as bad as they are in Germany, and I must say, I'm afraid this is also the case in some other member states. My report at the moment is in translation, but I would more than happily welcome concrete proposals to put in this action plan, because for me, for us, we were thinking we have the report of the European Parliament, hopefully to be devoted in December in the plenary, then the social action plan from our commissioner in, let's say, January or February, and then we are all working towards a new social summit to a city which is also known as a quite inclusive thinking city, that's Porto. So I do expect that on the 28th of May, when we have the social summit in Porto, we will work together towards more concrete proposals, because social pillar is one. Thank you for that document. But now it's time to deliver. And there, I think your work and our work can go quite well hand in hand. And then let's say, okay, what the heck if it's perhaps not a European competence. If it's necessary, then it's necessary. So let's move forward.
Thank you very much, Agnes, for this. Let's hear another voice from the European Parliament. And I know, Brando, that you have been waiting and you have another meeting upcoming. So sorry for being delayed. But now the floor is yours, Brando Benifei, for your view on what the European Parliament, from your view, is doing and should do to address the issues discussed here.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I will try to be brief as we are very, very late today, but I think it's been very interesting to listen to these experiences and examples coming from the territories. And in fact, I will try to focus a bit on this from my reflection, I mean, addition to this debate on the issues I've been working on and the connection between the European Social Fund Plus, which was mentioned also earlier, and the work that we are doing, and its connection to the fight against the new urban poor and to tackling unemployment, working with the urban environment and connecting territories and European funds. I want to be frank, the pandemic, like other crises in the past, has hit young people disproportionately in the effects from the economic and social side. While it's already quantifiable, the dramatic increase of youth unemployment levels, which rose to 17% in the EU, almost 5% points higher than before the COVID outbreak. It is still to be fully quantified the enormous increase of inactive young people, meaning those that are not working anymore and stop looking for jobs. The NEETs, as we learn to know them with this acronym. Besides, youth is the category most represented in non-standard and temporary forms of work, thereby drastically limiting young people access to social security in this period and to welfare schemes such as short-time work schemes and access to social and health services. The EU has been trying to do many things to try to address this issue. We have proposed, for example, also from the Parliament side, in the context of the Youth Guarantee reform, that the SURE instrument, that is a financial instrument to support economic, the support for the income for people that were in difficult situation, to provide assistance also to young people, including on housing aspect. That this is important for the obviously for the urban context. The Commission would allow for this possibility, and it is up to member states now to come up with programs to put this into practice. I got a letter from Ursula von der Leyen that was very clear. I asked her to express herself on the point on the need to use this SURE instrument, this new financial instrument, to hit more specifically on this situation. It's obvious that I mean it's very important to shape up a strong and coherent employment and anti-poverty strategy in this context, connecting with the cities. This will I mean include the ESF Plus, the Youth Guarantee, but also launching broader debates. And the national recovery plans must now have a specific target on youth, with a special view on urban poor, addressing in itself the main challenges like housing support that I already mentioned, income support, and also food aid strategies. I know that Eurocities, for example, is collaborating on a network on food for cities, focusing discussions on COVID-19. The way forward is to understand in practical and quick manner how we can retarget some resources, make them simpler and make them more flexible. I heard this issue coming from some of the speakers, and we have been already working a lot on this in making it a reality. And also, I want to conclude more on the Next Generation EU. I mean, there is, for sure, the role of cohesion policies in this period is very important. So we have been working to push for higher pre-financing, higher co-financing at the EU level for the cohesion funds, also for this last period of the previous budgetary time, so until the end of 2020, and also for the next one. On these issues, the Parliament has been very active. We approved changes on the rules that are now making it easier to use this money in this very dire moment. But I think something more can be done for more direct usage of the resources. I give you an example. For example, in the context of the ESF Plus and the reformed EASY program, we have been calling for a more direct access of local and regional actors to the resources made available by the EU in the field of social inclusion and integration of third country nationals. Opening up areas for funding and simplifying the access to funding for a more diverse audience of actors, including, for example, cities, local authorities, and civil society actors. In this way, bypassing the intermediate levels and going directly from the direct fund to the cities in a way that I think should be continued. And I know that, for example, ANCI in Italy has been working on this a lot, the Italian organization of the cities. And finally, really the last point is that when we look at the Next Generation EU, it's very important that we have a dialogue on the social scoreboard and the country-specific recommendations that will be part of the debate, in order to, with a focus also from the European Parliament to grasp the local and city-specific dimension of the challenges. I think we need to push in this direction because, for many reasons, I think we are the ones that are able, also working with the Committee of the Regions, to understand the importance of this multi-level approach that must include the cities more and more, also for the next stages of the Next Generation EU. So we will continue working on the budget. I made many examples, and on the other hand, I'm sure that we will be of support for cities to have a use of the Next Generation EU that is, I mean, mainly financing national policies. No, that's its function, but with a European cities dimension. And I'm sure that Eurocities will help in this sense with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brando, also for bringing up again the question of access and also for saying we will continue to work on that, because I think it's very clear also from today's debate that we will not be able to give all answers or to get all the clues within this even prolonged session that we have. We are a bit delayed, 10 minutes over the scheduled end, but I think it's clearly to the richness of your contributions and of all the practical examples, especially the discussion about the direct access of cities and about the role of the national cooperation. We need to continue to discuss. Italy, that you mentioned, Brando, is a good example where it's actually functioning well. And we just had a discussion with some of the representatives from there yesterday, and we want to share it as a good example so you can see that on a national level, you can actually cooperate in a good way. So it's a good example for that. With Eurocities, we will definitely follow up on this, and we will also follow up on the questions that some of you put in the chat, and I promised we would take up in the panel. Due to the time, I'm afraid this will just let our schedule explode and your schedules explode. I mean, I'm happy that so many of you are still with us. And if you have some more minutes of your energy, that would be just great to stay with us. But then let's take care of the questions you put in the Q&A in a written way. So we will definitely come back to you on those. But let's have the final words for today here before you are also invited for a network lunch online. Unfortunately, you need to bring your own snacks, but the more informal phase out of this, we will have two more short statements. And one is from Martin van Ooyen, the Deputy Mayor of Utrecht, today Vice Chair of our Social Affairs Forum, running now for the election to become Chair of the forum. In case you will be elected, Martin, you will be following up on all these loose ends that we touched today, and you will be continuing the political dialogue there. So what's your reflections very briefly at the end of this rich exchange we are just having?
Yeah, thanks Paul. Thanks a lot, Ivo. And yes, indeed, I'm running for chair of the forum, and I've seen all the enthusiasm now of all the members of the forum and all the politicians that are with us today. Then it makes me even more proud of what the Social Affairs Forum has reached now. So that first of all, I would like to say three small conclusions. First of all is that I'm very pleased, also Agnes Jongerius said it, that I think we should put more effort to put the issue of homelessness on the agenda of the European Commission. Because you can say, yeah, well, housing is a problem, but it's not a competence of the Commission. But I think I don't agree anymore with that issue. Because if you see now what's happening, the homelessness is growing. Even in this COVID crisis, it is people losing their houses. And you see with the migration that more issues are coming together with the issue of homelessness. So first of all, my father is that on the issue of policy, I've also heard the issue of Berlin for workers, for EU workers living in the city. And there are problems of how to house these people. And I think the issue should be on the agenda, and we don't have to discuss any more about that. That's the first of all. My conclusion after this morning. The second is about the governance. And I think, of course, we are with all of them. We are cities, and we are talking about our cities and what's happening in our cities. But I think that we should commit in the governance structure that the place of the cities should be stronger involved. I think in this multi-level governance, I think cities have a special place. And I think they should be set on the table with a stronger position. For example, if it's about the future and building back better, I think we should think about new concepts of cities and commission working directly together for some of the specific themes that are called today. So I think we should stronger put the seat of the cities on the table in this multi-level governance. And then the third thought to end up with is about the funding. And I think indeed direct funding to cities, as a lot of said already about, but I think it should be stronger and directer. because sometimes we don't even know of partners in our own cities if they are using money from the European funds, because it's going via the member states. So sometimes we are even surprised about what's happening in our own cities, because we are not even we are not even combined about how to do this. So I think that if it's about funding, there should be more transparency for the cities to know where the amount of money of ESF Plus and all the other REACT funding is landed in the cities. And I think that the more the better, the more direct funding, the better. But this, first of all, a seat on the table should be the first step forward. So thanks a lot, and thanks a lot, all of you, for all these great speeches I've heard this morning. Thanks.
Thank you, Martin. And now final remarks from one of our co-hosts from the European Parliament. Again, Agnes Jongerius, your final takeaway from today's discussion, a summary in 3 sentences, I guess.
That would be very difficult, but from one part of Utrecht to the other part of Utrecht, I do hope Maarten van Ooyen is being elected as the president. That could also, because he's my deputy mayor, he's living in the same city as I do, but that's just some interesting part of this meeting. I would say that the issues raised by you are well-founded issues which we should take care of in the whole policy making. I think it's indeed perhaps not so easy to get a seat of the table, but working from the urban agenda to from the Pact of Amsterdam to the urban agenda to where you are now, you're making big progress. I know that if it wouldn't be for COVID, the whole renovation wave our Commissioner Frans Timmermans is starting would also be in a big setting with a lot of mayors. So I think there are people seeing at the European level how important the work you are doing at the local level is in a reality. And I think if we are both concerned about the whole impact of this pandemic crisis, which is hitting us hard, and the examples are, I think, quite striking and also moving. It's not the time to just look at the strict interpretation of the Treaty of Europe, but let's see how we can help our citizens. I'm offering, of course, a exchange on my report, which is the first in the preparation of the next social summit in Porto. It would be easy to meet Maarten, because I only have to take my bike for 10 minutes and then we can see each other. But of course, this is not only for him, but for you. And thank you for all the work you're doing in taking care of the interests of citizens of Europe. Much needed and much appreciated.
Thank you, Agnes, also for these final words. And thanks all of you who contributed to this rich exchange that we had. It was incredibly full, but also in the positive sense full. I took a lot of notes. So if you remember, I said, if you want, please join the note-taking with your hand and share words or sentences that you found interesting and inspiring. I just chose one from my side, and you can, of course, join and then put yours on in the chat as well, if you like. I want to wrap up this with one remark, saying that many of the things discussed today are on a new website, because we launched a page where you can find all the city pledges and much more, good examples, more about the European Pillar of Social Rights and how cities are working for a more social, a stronger social Europe. And the address is Inclusive Cities for All. So the 4 is number, the 4, inclusivecitiesforall.eu, of course, as a European page. You find all details and much more information than what was possible to share here in this call. Even if we took almost 3 hours now for this, there's still so much more to see what the concrete action in the cities are and to learn from each other, which is also such an important point of the network that we are at Eurocities. You find the address of the website also in the chat. So even after the call, you can click on it and it will open and you can explore what's there. So with this, thanks a lot for your participation, for the time, the energy, the creativity that you shared and the good work that you are doing. We will definitely continue the dialogue. That's our job and our passion. That's what we want to do, our mission. And you're invited, as said, to stay if you would like to, for what we call an informal lunch. So just to chat without getting the floor and having to wait and so on. So more on an easy way. Also maybe to, if you have questions on the website or on other things, where to find information or what to do, how to make a pledge or whatever you would like to discuss, please stay online if you like to and if you have the time. And for all the others, I simply say thanks again, have a great day and see you soon again. Bye-bye.